Hey everyone, we are living in a pretty wild time, right? Anyone, and I mean anyone, can create a full-blown song with just a simple text prompt. The tech is just moving at lightning speed. But there's a problem. The law that's supposed to govern who owns that music, it's moving at the speed of, well, law. And that huge clash is creating this massive, confusing paradox for creators just like you.
So let's just get right to it. You type a prompt into an AI, and boom, it spits out an absolute banger. It came from your idea, right? It was your prompt. But here's the big question. Is it actually your song? I mean, can you copyright it? Can you stop somebody else from just taking it and using it? That is the core question we're going to unpack right now.
All right, so to really get a handle on the legal stuff, we first have to understand what's actually happening behind the curtain, under the hood. How does a machine even go from a few words of text to a complex piece of music? Well, I can tell you it's not magic, it's all math.
Okay, first on the list, we've got something called variational autoencoders, or VAEs for short. The best way to think of these is like super intelligent music librarians. A VAE listens to a song, boils it down to its mathematical essence, kind of like a musical fingerprint, and then uses that fingerprint to build a brand new piece of music that has a similar vibe.
Then you've got generative adversarial networks, or GANs. And oh man, this is where it gets really interesting. See, this isn't just one AI working by itself. It's actually two AIs locked in this constant battle. It's like having a master forger trying to create the perfect fake painting, while a brilliant art critic is right there trying to spot the fraud.
So you have this back and forth. The generator AI is working its tail off trying to create music that can fool the critic AI. And the critic, well, its only job is to get better and better at spotting the fakes. It's this nonstop competition that forces the generator to create music that sounds unbelievably realistic and complex. They just keep pushing each other to get better.
And last but not least, we have transformers. Now, you've probably heard this term with language models like ChatGPT, but they are an absolute game changer for music too. Their secret weapon is this thing called self-attention. What that means is, instead of just looking at the last couple of notes it wrote, the AI can look at the entire piece it's created so far to decide what to do next. That's the key. That's what lets them build these long, complex, and genuinely coherent songs that actually make musical sense.
Okay, so on one hand, you've got these super complex, sophisticated AI systems creating music. Now let's pivot and see how all that futuristic tech slams headfirst into a very old and frankly very simple rule at the very core of US copyright law.
And here it is. This is the big one, the bedrock principle. For a piece of work to get copyright protection in the United States, it has to be created by a human being. Period. End of story. It doesn't matter how beautiful or complex or creative it is, if the author isn't a person, it gets zero copyright protection.
And look, don't think this is just some dusty, old rule they forgot to update for the 21st century. No way. The US Copyright Office has been super clear about this, and it was just tested and upheld in federal court as recently as 2023. The verdict is in, the law is firm. Machines cannot be authors.
All right, we've looked at the tech and we've looked at the law. Now it's time to put them together and finally answer that million-dollar question we started with. After you type in your brilliant prompt, do you actually own the song that the AI creates?
This is where the legal reality really hits home. Think about it. Your prompt, let's say it's a sad country song about a lost dog, that's just an idea. And copyright law is very clear. It doesn't protect ideas, it only protects the specific expression of an idea. And who did the expressing here? The AI did. It wrote the melody, it created the harmony, it laid down the rhythm. And since that expression didn't come from a human, well, it can't be copyrighted. So the answer is a hard no.
But hold on, I know what you're thinking. My AI music app, its terms of service says I own the songs I make. And yes, this is a super important point, but it's a bit of a trap. What the platform is giving you is a contractual right to use that specific digital file. It is not a government-recognized, legally enforceable copyright. A company can't just grant you a right that the law says never even existed in the first place.
And that, of course, brings us to the other massive legal minefield in all of this. I mean, think about it. For an AI to learn how to make country music, it has to be trained on, well, a ton of country music. And guess what? Most of that music is copyrighted. So the big question is that even legal?
This right here, this is the heart of the battle in these gigantic lawsuits that are happening right now. On one side, you have the AI company saying that training their models is fair use.
They claim it's just research, that it's transformative. But on the other side, you have artists and record labels screaming, "No way, this is mass copyright infringement." They argue that music is a highly creative work, that the AIs are copying 100% of their songs, and that the stuff the AI spits out is now directly competing with them in the marketplace. And right now, the courts are trying to figure out who's right.
So, does this all mean it's hopeless? If you want to use AI in your music, do you just have to give up on the idea of ever owning your work? Well, not necessarily. The good news is the Copyright Office has actually laid out a path forward. The catch? It requires a lot more work than just typing a prompt.
You're going to want to remember this phrase. It's the key to everything. Sufficient human intervention. That's the gold standard the Copyright Office is looking for. If you want to claim authorship on something that has AI-generated parts, you have to be able to prove that your contribution went way beyond just clicking a generate button. You have to show real, meaningful, creative work from a human. You.
So what actually counts as sufficient? Well, here's a pretty good checklist. We're talking about things like performing major edits and rearranging the song's structure yourself. Or maybe you add your own original guitar solo or a bass line. Or you could write and perform your own original lyrics over the AI track. The goal is always the same. You have to add a significant new layer of your own creativity to transform the AI's raw output into something more.
Now, even if you do all that work, it's critical to understand that what you get is something called a thin copyright. And this is a huge deal. It means your copyright only protects what you added, your human contributions. So your lyrics are protected, your specific arrangement is protected, your guitar solo is protected. But, and this is the big but, it does not protect the original melody or chords the AI generated. So someone else could, in theory, use that same AI-generated melody, write different lyrics, and they probably wouldn't be infringing on your copyright at all.
And let me be clear. The Copyright Office is not messing around with this. The rules are now crystal clear. When you apply for a copyright, you must disclose that you used AI. You have to be upfront and tell them which parts were made by you and which parts were made by the machine. And the consequences for not doing that are serious. If you fail to disclose it, they can completely void your registration, leaving you with nothing.
So what does this all boil down to? Really, it means our whole idea of what a creator is, well, it's changing. When you use these powerful AI tools, you're less of an author in the traditional sense and more of a director. Your job is to curate, to arrange, to edit, and to shape what the machine gives you. And at the end of the day, legal ownership is only going to be granted when you prove you rolled up your sleeves and put in that serious, creative human work.
And all of this leaves us with a really big question to think about. For hundreds of years, we've thought of a musician as someone who masters an instrument, right? A piano, a violin, a guitar. But now, as AI itself becomes the instrument, a really powerful and kind of unpredictable one at that, our very definition of what it means to be a musician is being rewritten right here, right now. So what will that new definition look like? I guess that's the question that we all get to help answer.